for being here, and thank you so much for sharing your journeys and donating your time for the next, half an hour or so. What I wanted to do is talk a little bit more. I've given a brief introduction, but just from your own words, I'll start with you, Tyler. Did you want to tell me or tell the audience a little bit more about you and your background, maybe Jacqueline as well, and what led you to this point today?
Yeah, thanks, Pete and Beck, for allowing me to chat here, and great to meet everyone. As you just mentioned, we have a week and a half-year-old baby, so I apologize if I'm looking a little like a zombie from The Walking Dead or The Last of Us. So a little bit of a background. So I'll start with my own. I grew up in Michigan. I was a D1 collegiate football player. I moved to Hermosa Beach a little over a decade, or right around a decade ago. And then professionally, aside from Fitstop, I work in finance. I have a CFA designation, and I work for a firm called CASE, which essentially we help financial advisors choose alternative investments, so private equity, private credit, real estate, hedge funds, etc. And I lead a team that is in support of financial advisors here out west. Jacqueline, my better half, is from New York. She actually went to school to be a concert violinist, but during college, she actually became a kickboxing instructor, and she moved to California to open a handful of kickboxing studios. She later worked for F45 here in Hermosa Beach as that brand was really starting to kick off, and became the district manager for that entity across LA and Orange County. And now she runs Fitstop full time alongside of being a mom. So definitely the better suited of the two of us in this journey. And interestingly enough, Jacqueline and I met at the gym. And so it's really been a wonderful story of kind of two transplants, not from this community.
Oh, hello. I think Tyler might be frozen there. I might just jump.
Oh, back.
You're back.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you continue, Tyler.
Oh, that was the end. That's our background. Hopefully we got it all.
No,
we got most of it. Thank you. And sorry.
Oh no. And Lawrence, tell us a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit more about your background and what you do professionally.
Okay. First off, thank you for having us on. So my name is Lawrence. I actually grew up in New Zealand and Taiwan. I moved to Philadelphia, Temple University, and then ended up going to graduate school out here in LA at USC. I'm a concierge doctor of physical therapy. So I opened 2 clinics in Manhattan Beach, Santa Monica. And then as career grew, I got to kind of start shifting away from that. And now I just work with high profile patients. I traveled to Las Vegas, Santa Barbara, just seeing these kind of pretty special patients, and I get to work with off-season pros, stuff like that. So I love what I do. It's a lot of travel, but health, rehab, wellness. That's just like always been a passion of mine. I'm also in different other businesses as an investor. But yeah, just super excited to be on the call and excited to share more of our story with everybody. Thanks.
Well, thank you. And Tyler, you mentioned that you've got a background in investments on a professional level. What inspired you to start your own business? And take me back to that moment that you decided to take that leap of faith into business ownership for yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So I think there was several motivations, for us. We were certainly not in the market to go out and purchase a franchise. We were pretty happy with the way the life was going, but the opportunity presented itself, with Pete and Beck coming to America with Fitstop, and they were looking for talent on the ground to help them build that out. And so Pete got introduced to Jacqueline for a potential role at Fitstop at the headquarters there in Santa Monica. And so that opportunity fortuitously allowed us to understand the brand, build a relationship with the Fitstop team, and of course, understand and experience the programming that we just went over. And I personally just kind of remember Jacqueline and I having a conversation about Fitstop, and we were so sold on it as a job for her. But so we just kind of threw it out in jest, like, maybe we can open one of these on our own. And so one thing led to another, and here we are today. And so after we decided to move forward, that's really where I kind of put my investment hat on, as I'm sure Pete and Beck can attest. I'm pretty analytical and in the details. So we went through this whole tireless process of back and forth, and they were able to answer all my questions. And I really want to understand the mechanics, the financials, the legals, because again, this is not something that we were seeking out to do initially. So we definitely took our time to understand, the model and make sure this was for us. And in my world, in the investments, we analyze companies and industries all day long. So we look at everything from like early stage venture companies to late stage public stocks. And the one thing that always rings true in any investment is that the earlier you are on the journey and the more conviction you have, the more potential returns you have on your investment, right? And so to me, this is certainly no different. The brand is early in the US. All the major markets are pretty much still available, but it has a proven business model, of course, outside the US, and we have a lot of conviction. So and above that, you always want to invest in themes and industries that have tailwinds versus headwinds. You don't want to be on the last purchase of a dying product or industry. So particularly in health and wellness that I know Lawrence is involved in, and obviously we're on the call that you guys are all interested in today. Those are massive tailwinds, for this country and for the world, as is the reemergence of the human connection post-pandemic. And so I felt like for an investment case, there was a lot to like and definitely check the boxes. And fitness brands and fitness business is a bit unique, is it's very capital intensive up front, but from an ongoing perspective, they have a lot of what I like out of an investment. There's predictable cash flow, there's scalability, there's healthy margins. You really only have rent and labor and marketing. There's growth. You can potentially grow from one studio to many or start with many. And there's a huge total addressable market. So we modeled everything out, got it comfortable. And then once we were able to check the box on the investment front, it really became, is this the lifestyle that we wanted? Are we willing to do the work? And so that really fell more on Jacqueline, who was going to be the day-to-day operator, to trust her background and insights. Like, is this the brand that we wanted to move forward with? Is this the lifestyle we want to have? And we felt that Fitstop was filling a big void we saw in our local market, and we believed running our business would give us a lot of flexibility. And particularly as we start to build out a family, and now here we are now, and we're able to take advantage of some of that flexibility. So the rest is sort of history. We obviously dove in.
It's crazy what 1 year does and how life can really change.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that. And Lawrence, you've been in health and fitness for over 20 years now, in varying different roles. But what did Fitstop, and like knowing your background, you've looked at other models before as well. How did it stand out, and why was this a little bit different for you to pull the trigger on it?
So for me, it was just the experience itself. Obviously, I've like you said, I've done everything in fitness. Actually helped open a couple gyms in the past as well. Also worked as the GM of a pretty high-end boutique gym in Santa Monica back in the day. So definitely not new to the space. For me, it was the experience. So I was invited to a Fitstop workout by my best friend, and I freaking loved it. Like, even before the workout, walking in, the aesthetics of the gym, the vibe, the music. I was greeted by the trainer. It really reminded me, like Tyler was an ex-athlete, so it really reminded me of like the training room, like team sports, that camaraderie. As we get older, we get busy, responsibilities. Like Tyler, I'm a dad. I got a 4-year-old, 2-year-old. So we just really focused on work and all that, but just to kind of have the gym as like a refuge, just a good place to just kind of vibe out, have fun, connect. That was so refreshing to me. Traditionally, I go to like a big box gym. I go to Equinox, and it's great, but there's just something different about the Fitstop. And obviously the workout was insane. I got my butt kicked for sure. I'm not the biggest cardio conditioning guy. For the longest, like basketball was like my cardio, but I am competitive, so the workout gave that. And social strength training, lifting weights with your mates, as Pete loves to say, like that. I felt that in that first workout. And honestly, like the programming is amazing too. Like it makes sense. The results speak for themselves. And it was nice to just kind of go and train, right? I made a bunch of friends. I loved it so much. A week later, I brought my wife. She brought a friend, and we live in LA, so it took like an hour and a half to get there in traffic, but it's all good. Since that first workout, I've never left. And I mean, a week later, I was like, dude, we got to open one of these. Because once she experienced it and she was excited, I was like, man, this is something we can do together. It's definitely something that our community needs, because again, there's nothing like it. And that was really it. I'm not as Tyler sounds super smart and analytical. I don't look at things that way. I was just like, dude, I had a good time. I had a great workout. How can we bring this to our community? How can we share this with as many people as possible? So that's my support.
I love that. Thanks for sharing.
Of course.
Tyler, I'm going to throw it to you now. Looking at, you've been open now for a year, and I'm sure that there's a lot of lessons and a lot of, lessons that you've learned along the way that maybe the audience can really learn from. So I guess the first question is, how has your community really received Fitstop coming new into that particular market space? And there are, a number of competitors in Hermosa Beach there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hyper competitive. And to be honest, like the brand is relatively nascent, right? So nobody's waking up saying, I need Fitstop today. Like you have to go out and talk about it. Now, it might be a little bit different in Australia, where there's potentially one in every block. But here, we had to be out in the community. And so our consumers are not coming to us and saying, like, hey, this is the need that we have. But the way that they were acting demonstrated there was a need for what Fitstop provided. So like, for instance, I got a couple examples, but like our local F45 had like an unsanctioned after hours workout called Big Dogs, where we would do a lot of what we do at Fitstop, which is lift big weights, use a barbell. And so there's clearly like a need for, hey, how do we get access to this stuff? Or we had a ton of people that were using multiple gym memberships to kind of hit the mark for their training, or use ClassPass. And I still use the same phrase, where it's like getting full on appetizers and never actually eating and ordering an entree, right? It's not a good way to get healthy. And so, obviously Fitstop is a comprehensive workout that brings everything together. And to Lawrence's point, there's kind of a barbell of like people that have CrossFit, or there's CrossFit who kind of meets the mark on maybe some of this barbell work. And then they call it the big box gyms, Equinoxes and such. And it's been hard to get people to get comfortable with a barbell and to actually bring in that community. And so this community is very inclusive. We were able to bring in kind of former athletes that are, hey, I can do it all myself types, and really bring in a lot of males. Our demo is actually split 50-50 male-female, which is so rare in this industry. It's like early 30s, the perfect demo, versus most group fitness is like 70-30 female-male. So you get a really good split. And a lot of those people are coming from like Lawrence's background of a big box gym, and they're really kind of getting back to their earlier days of being an athlete. So for us, there was this genuine need for community. There's a reason run clubs are more popular than nightclubs today, right? Yes. And it's people want to be around others that are healthy, that are and have a similar value system, that are training for the High Rocks, the Spartans, the Tough Mudder type organizations. And certainly that's very popular today. So when we rolled it out, we just really marketed into those voids that we saw in the market, and it was really well received. Certainly hasn't happened overnight, but we just get our community in there. We're active. We're out doing events. We get on the phones. We're at the classes. And the challenge was, and it continues to be, how do we get the next person in there to experience the brand? And if they experience it, then they'll stay. So that's been our experience kind of rolling it out.
No, I love that. And in terms of you, I mean, you've touched on it, but just to dig deeper, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had in your first year of ownership?
So first, it's just running the administrative side of running a business. It sounds like Lawrence has been involved in a lot of different businesses. For me, it was our first. So it's like, how do you get the right forms in? Hire your trusted resources, your accountants, your lawyers. how do you fill out the right licenses, et cetera. But I think once you get that down, it's pretty repeatable year over year, but just you don't know what you don't know. So that was a learning experience that now I feel I could own any type of business now that I've gone through it, which is great. And then secondly, I think it's just getting off the starting blocks and really building the membership. Like you want it to happen overnight. It simply just takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day. So there are highs and lows of that. You'll get 5 new members, and then 2 of your favorite members will, leave because they're moving across the country or somebody takes an injury. So that, you just got to play the long game. And then I think for us, it was, figuring out our roles and responsibilities. We're working as partners. So it's important to kind of have those purely defined and be able to have this kind of open and honest dialogue. And so now instead of me talking to Jacqueline about Fitstop at midnight right before we go to bed, we have defined times to talk about our business. And we got a lot of good advice from watching Pete and Beck be able to work side by side in their relationship. So
yeah, I love that. I think one thing that might be really important to touch on is the technology and just how, how you take on a membership and what the back-end systems and structure really looks like. We've recently gone through a bit of a migration. We had our own intellectual property. We had our own proprietary technology, and we've just done that migration only this year. And there were some great benefits and decisions around why we moved away from our own proprietary and into a system called Hapana. How are the systems and the operational systems for you and the functionality to have really good kind of back-end member management?
Yeah, so on our end, the new system is just provide a lot more flexibility in different ways to drive revenue. And in the past, it might have been a bit more of a limited menu, but now we're much more able to meet the client where they want to be met. So they want to go to class 2 times a week. We have a solution for that. If they want monthly instead of weekly billing, there's a solution. If they want a class package or they want a discount for a longer commitment, there's just a lot more ways to say yes versus kind of having to say no. So that's really helped us, in conversions and retentions when people go through, life challenges or they lose their job. Like, how can we help them stay with Fitstop and adapt their membership accordingly? And then just from a business management perspective, it allows us to track membership and trends from a top down, but also kind of keep in touch with our lead funnel and our growth of our business from the bottom up, through the CRM. So really an all-in-one tool for us that is the backbone of our business.
No, perfect. And one last question before we throw it over to Lawrence. What do you think the key focus points of your business needs to be in order to create success? I think you can be busy doing a lot of things that don't move the needle, or you can be really hyper-focused on the things that do. What's your advice there?
Yeah, we've been guilty of that at times, but I think like any business, it boils down to the retention and client experience, right? So as you may or may not know, it's 5 times cheaper to acquire a new client than it is to just keep the one that you have. So our members, Pete, you said this earlier, are our biggest marketing tool. They're our biggest advocates. They talk about our brand with their friends and family. They refer others to the gym, and they share it on socials unprompted. So it's really just taking care of home base and that building a good community. So we let bad news travel fast. We react to feedback as quick as we can. We try to acknowledge any challenges that we're having and try to put out a good product. And then from a sales funnel perspective, like we've really broken it out, and Pete helped out with this tremendously. Is just thinking about it in different stages, going from the cost per lead, marketing conversion, to how do we get them to take their first class, and then from their first class to of course, signing up for a membership. And we can break that into its component parts to make sure that we know where things are starting to fail and where we need to course correct, which has been helpful. And then lastly, I would just say, like, having a singular source of truth. We want to measure what matters, not what's easy, right? And to us, that is just membership. And so men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So we make sure that we have our main KPI. Everyone across our business knows what that KPI is. They know what our goals are. We don't have to be everything to everyone. That we just need to find 400 people across the South Bay that want to join onto our business, and it'll be very, very successful. So
No, I agree. No, well, congrats on your journey so far. I'll come back in a moment, but just to look at Lawrence, just to let everyone know kind of a bit more about your journey. We met late November, I think, and we actually signed your franchise agreement on Australian Christmas Day. So we signed, just with the time zone differences, just around lunch. We were about to serve lunch at our home, and we signed your franchise agreement. So for us, it was a really nice celebration. For you, I'm sure it was an early Christmas present as well. So congrats. From there, we dove straight into site searching, and now we have found a building, which is really exciting. And we are about to start that build phase. Tell me a little bit more, or tell the audience a little bit about that journey, going from signing, now that it's fresh in your mind, going from signing, site search, council, signing leases. What's that process like?
So that was Christmas Eve that we signed here, and then Christmas Day, you guys. So yeah, it's pretty special. So like I said, guys, like by the end of the first workout, I was just like, there's something here. Like I'm not making this up. Pete and Beck aren't paying me to say this. Like that's truly how I felt. That might not be the case for everybody, but that's just my story. So once wifey saw it, once Kate got it, sorry, my wife's name is Kate. So once my wife got excited about it, anyone that's married knows, that's the boss. So I was like, all right, now we can really get to work. For me, it was just committing to it, signing the franchise agreement, doing whatever we needed to do behind the scenes to kind of start the location search. For me, it was a little stressful. I'm not the most patient person, and I struggle with control. So, if I say, hey, things need to happen, they kind of need to happen on my timeline, which has not been the case. And so it's been definitely like a growth opportunity for me. But it's also been exciting. It's also been a lot of fun. Just being able to kind of paint the vision of what we want to build and then kind of see it kind of come to light. Pete and Beck have been amazing. The operations team in LA and even Fitstop Australia has been amazing. So just kind of having an idea of what to look for, obviously spending a lot of time on LoopNet, talking to the commercial realtor, and then even Academy, right? So I know Pete mentioned Academy. Academy has just been this amazing resource. It's literally given me pretty much all the information needed for what we need to look for, from size to what the signage is going to look like. So even just driving around our community, kind of being like, okay, this could be good, this could be good. So that's been probably a 3 to 4 month thing. We found a couple locations, had everyone together, go look at them, and last month we kind of finalized a location. We're very, very excited about it. It's a little bit bigger than what we wanted initially, but again, every day I'm involved in Fitstop, I get more and more excited. Every day, I believe that we're like Tyler said, we're definitely early adopters, innovators, so ahead of the curve. So excited to grow and pack this location and all the other ones to come.
Absolutely. And look, we've gone through, we've been there along that journey with a real estate agent as well, Sam, that we use, and he's an extension to our team, which has been really amazing through that site search and been negotiating on your behalf, which I think navigating that by yourself would have been really tough, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah. So Sam's just been an amazing resource as well through this whole process.
No, that's good. So we've just had induction literally last week. Tell me a bit about what you learned through that 3-day induction process.
Anything and everything, honestly. So going to induction, I had a million questions, right? Because I've never done this before. Like I've done other business before. I've actually opened a gym before, but not in the franchise model, not through Fitstop, So induction was just, it was a game changer for me. It's one of the things that I kept writing down in my notes. It's funny, I was looking over my notes before the call, and I kept writing member experience. I probably wrote member experience down like 6 times, and to me, that's one of the main things that stands out for Fitstop, the member experience. Pete and Beck always talk about like the perfect session. That was that's why I'm here. That's why I'm on this call, right? So that was everything to me. Went back to that. How can we create the best experience possible for our members? Whether that's, how we greet people, the workout itself, why the workouts are programmed a certain way. Everything made more sense after induction. We actually worked out every day during induction too, which was not like a normal business like orientation experience, but that was fun because we got to bond. Branding, I think we talked about branding and marketing on day 2. We had a business training on day 3. We talked about reading a P&L sheet. It really covered everything. It also gave me a lot of ideas. So one of my closest friends, Des, he's going to be helping us. He's going to be the studio manager for our location, and half the time we're like writing something down, looking at each other like, okay, cool. Like now we got something to talk about on the drive home. So it planted a lot of seeds for us for sure. And like Pete talked about earlier, as we go into opening our location, there's this kind of a 12-week pre-open plan. So the biggest thing for me was it gave us like specific action steps, milestones, metrics, things to focus on. With 8 weeks left, with 4 weeks left, this is what we get to focus on. So now the plan is crystal clear. I feel very comfortable, and I'm just excited to kind of take what we've learned from there and take it into opening.
No, perfect. So your social media has just launched. So for anyone following at home and wanting to follow their journey, the handle is at Fitstop Woodland Hill on Instagram. So we are running out of time. So I'm just going to go through some really rapid fire questions, some really quick answers here. And I'll throw to you both. Why franchising instead of independent?
You want to start, Lawrence?
Sure. So for me,
you've done both, so
yeah, I have. So I look at what's happening in the world, and clearly franchising works. I mean, if everyone on the call just like takes a second and think about their day, like at some point today, you stepped into a franchise, you spent some money, franchising definitely works. I mean, here in LA, there's this company called Dave's Hot Chicken that just got sold, right? That was started by 3 friends, Armenian guys in the parking lot, and they just got sold for $1 billion. So like franchising definitely works. There's proof of that. And for me, it's just so simple because Pete and Beck, Fitstop, the operations team, like they have our backs. Like they've created this amazing company. There's the structure. They've opened 160 plus locations in Australia. Yeah, in the US, it does feel newer. I was at Chase. They're like, it's a new company. It's a startup. I was like, bro, 160 plus locations. Like it's established, so that gives me a ton of confidence. For me, I'm just going to follow the blueprint and get to work. Like that's how I look at it.
No, I love that. And then the last question, Tyler, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give someone considering the next journey?
Yeah, so I would say obviously do your research, model out the base case, worst case, best cases. You want to make sure that this is the right fit for your family, and then obviously jump in. I could just speak for ourselves. Like it's so fun and rewarding to just see like the true impact that you have on people's lives, and not just getting them in shape. Like I think to like the first day we opened, and fast forward a year, and now you have all these people that were kind of awkwardly hanging out on their own now best friends, and it's just awesome to see. You have to like scrape them off the floor to get to the next session because this is their social hour. And I just think, for so many people that are working remotely, this is their way towards community today, and to be able to get together is just really powerful. And then, you get to hear the comments like Fitstop changed my life, or I got to do this with my son and I've never would have been able to do it without you, or the person that never touched a barbell being able to high five after they just did a record hang clean. Like it's just really, really remarkable. So, if you believe in like the greater, being able to contribute to a greater good, I just think, obviously if you do your work, jump in, because it's one of the few businesses that you can actually truly impact people's lives and their moods and their health. So that'd be my 2 cents.
No, I think it's a really important point that this is a good profit business, that, whilst you can have those financial rewards for your own family, you're actually doing good by the community at the same time. So thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate now you guys jumping on board and sharing your journey and your experience. I'm sure there's a lot of people on the call that's taken a lot away from that.